I drove 8 hours for our family reunion. When I arrived, my seat was gone, replaced by my sister's dog. I smiled and said, "No big deal." But on the last night, my bank alerted me, $1,800 gone. Golden Child said, dinner wasn't free. I grabbed my bag, and what I did next left them stunned. I knew something was wrong the second I walked through the front door. 8 hours behind the wheel, 2 gas stops, and a lukewarm burger later, I finally arrived at my parents' house for what was supposed to be a family reunion. My back ached, my eyelids burned, and my phone had died somewhere around exit 92. Still, I smiled. I was trying. That had always been the story with me. I was trying. The living room was buzzing with laughter. My nieces were tearing wrapping paper off early gifts, my brother-in-law was double-fisting beers, and my parents were on the couch, watching it all like royalty. And then I saw it, my seat at the table. Gone. In its place was a plush pink dog bed. Curled up inside it, wearing a sweater that probably cost more than my entire road trip, was my sister's toy poodle, Lady Gigi. There wasn't even a spare chair in sight. "Oh, you made it," my sister Melissa called out with that performative brightness I knew too well. She didn't get up. "We didn't think you'd actually come." My stomach twisted. "I texted you an hour ago." "Oh, that?" "My phone died," she said, tapping her screen like it proved something. "Anyway, Gigi gets anxious if she doesn't have her spot. Hope that's okay." I stared at the dog. Gigi blinked at me with big, judgmental eyes like she knew exactly what was going on. I forced a smile. "No big deal." "Good," she said, turning back to her husband. "Because she's had a long week with the groomer and the flights and all. She needs her routine." I looked around for a folding chair, an ottoman, even a bar stool. Nothing. My dad glanced up from his phone just long enough to mutter, "You can eat on the couch. Or in the den." Like I was a guest. Like I wasn't the one who'd been wiring them money for the past year while trying to keep my own head above water. Like I didn't used to sit at that table. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and set my bag down next to the door. I told myself it was one weekend. I could deal with it. Smile, play along, be the nice one, like always. But I should have known. That chair wasn't the only thing missing. Over the next 2 days, they didn't even pretend to hide the hierarchy. Melissa was the star, the queen, the center of every story. Her dog had its own stocking on the mantel. My stocking was accidentally missing. When I brought it up, my mom said, "Oh, I thought you weren't coming this year," even though I had confirmed it 3 times. I let it go. Again. Until the final night, when my phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. $1,800 withdrawn. My heart stopped. I opened the app. It wasn't a mistake. It was a Zelle transfer sent to a name I didn't recognize. The memo line read, "Reunion dinner. T-checks." I looked across the room. Melissa was sipping wine by the fire, her husband lounging beside her. She caught my eye and smiled. "Oh," she said, with a tilt of her head. "Dinner wasn't free, you know." My jaw tightened. "Excuse me. You've got that new job, don't you? We figured you wouldn't mind covering the food. And the wine. And the catering service. It's what family does, right?" She laughed. That was when I grabbed my bag. And what I did next left them all speechless. I should have seen it coming. But the thing is, when you're raised in a family where love is conditional and loyalty is a currency, you learn to keep your mouth shut and pay your dues. And I did for years. When Melissa divorced her first husband, who bailed on her and left her with debt and a dog with a gluten allergy, guess who she called? Me. "It's just until I get back on my feet," she said over the phone, sniffling dramatically. "You're the only one who actually supports me." At the time, I thought she meant it. I covered 2 months of her rent and paid off her vet bills. I even helped her apply for a job at a luxury pet boutique, which, ironically, is how she ended up making more money than me now. And yet, somehow I was still the one footing the bill. Melissa had mastered the art of being both helpless and entitled. She didn't ask for things. She announced them. "Gigi needs a new stroller, but the model she had last year was so heavy." Translation: buy stroller, or you're a bad brother. My parents weren't any better. "You know how she is," Mom would say whenever Melissa pulled one of her tantrums. "She's just sensitive. Maybe you should try being more helpful," Dad would mutter when I dared to say no to anything. Helpful? I had paid their gas bill last winter, replaced their dishwasher, bought them a smart TV for their anniversary. And when my own car broke down, they told me maybe I should have planned better. But God forbid Melissa's poodle miss a grooming appointment. It all came down to roles. Melissa was the golden child, the shining light. I was the backup plan, the emotional mule, The designated scapegoat who never complained. I was never the favorite. I was the fallback. That's why when the family reunion came up, I didn't even hesitate. I'll be there, I told them. I'll drive. 8 hours. Through sleet. Burning my last PTO days for people who couldn't even save me a chair. And now? They were laughing. Laughing like this was normal. Like stealing $1,800 from me was just a quirky little family quirk. My breathing was shallow. My fingers trembled as I stared at the transaction. My thumb hovered over the report fraud button, but something made me pause. Don't cause a scene. I could hear my mother's voice in my head. It's just money. No, it wasn't. It was my money. My savings. The last of what I had set aside for something for myself. For once. And they didn't even ask. They just took it. Melissa noticed the shift in my face. She raised her eyebrows as if to say, "What? You okay?" she asked, her voice syrupy with sarcasm. "Or is this where you storm off dramatically?" I clenched my jaw. My mother, ever the peacemaker, chimed in. "Let's not ruin the last night. It's been such a lovely reunion." Lovely. I was sleeping in the laundry room. No blanket. Just a throw pillow and a dog bed as my nightstand. I stood up slowly, phone still in my hand. "Hey, Melissa?" I said calmly. She looked up. "Who gave you access to my bank account?" She blinked, then smiled, like I was being silly. "You Venmo'd me once for Dad's birthday dinner. You never unlinked the card. Relax, it's not like you're poor." The words hit me like a slap. Not like I'm poor. Just poor enough to be useful. And that's when it clicked. All of it. Every little micro-betrayal, every time they forgot to pay me back, every chore I'd done, every silent contribution, every phone call that started with, "I hate to ask, but..." I was never the family member. I was the resource. And the scariest part? I had allowed it. "I need some air," I muttered, grabbing my coat. But before I could step out, I caught something that stopped me cold. Melissa was scrolling through her phone, smirking. She turned the screen toward our cousin Daniel. "Look at this," she giggled. "He's still single. I mean, maybe if he wasn't so serious all the time." "Oh wait, you didn't hear? He got rejected by some girl from work. Tragic, right?" Daniel laughed. My dad chuckled. Melissa glanced at me. Oops, was that off limits? That was the moment. Right there. The moment I realized I wasn't just the mule, I was the punchline. I stepped back into the room and cleared my throat. Actually, since we're all laughing, why don't I tell a joke? Everyone turned to me. The room went quiet. "A guy drives 8 hours to see his family," I said, voice steady. "He's the only one who doesn't fly. He brings gifts, pays for dinner, and sleeps in the laundry room." My mom's smile faltered. "But when he gets there, his seat is taken by a dog. He doesn't complain. Then they steal $1,800 from his account without asking. And then..." I turned to Melissa. "The punchline calls him a loser." Nobody laughed. I nodded. "Funny, huh?" Silence. My father shifted uncomfortably. "Come on, let's not do this." "Oh, we're doing this," I said, my voice sharpening. "Because I've done everything for this family. And all I get is a dog bed and a backhanded insult." Melissa rolled her eyes. "It's not that deep." "No," I snapped. "It's deeper. Because for the past 5 years, I've been paying your rent, your vet bills, your Postmates orders. You treat me like a human ATM with no emotional withdrawal limit." My mom stood up, flustered. "Lower your voice." "Why?" I said. "So I don't wake up Gigi?" That actually got a laugh from the cousin in the corner. My sister's face flushed. "You're overreacting." "I'm underreacting," I said. "But not anymore." I held up my phone. "You have 1 hour to send back the money. If it's not there by the time I hit the state line, I'm pressing fraud charges." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't." "Try me." Melissa stood, furious. "You're insane. What are you even going to do, run away?" I smiled coldly. "No. I'm going to escape." I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay on the scratchy cot in the laundry room, staring at the ceiling fan wobbling dangerously above me, thinking about every time I said yes when I should have said no. Every time I sent money and got silence in return. Every time I let them belittle me with a smile. And that poodle. By sunrise, my decision was made. I packed my things. Every charger, every sock, every ounce of dignity I had left. I slid my duffel bag over my shoulder, walked into the kitchen, and found Melissa standing there with a mug of oat milk coffee like nothing had happened. "You're really being dramatic," she said without looking up. "No," I said calmly. "I'm being done." She finally turned to me. You're still mad about the dinner money? Seriously, it was a group decision. Dad said it was fine. I looked over. My dad was at the table, peeling a banana like it was a peace treaty. I didn't say that, he mumbled. Melissa snapped. Yes, you did. You said he wouldn't mind. He always pays. I turned to my father. Did you say that? He shrugged. We just figured. Figured what? I said, my voice rising. That I do what I always do? That I just smile and pay for everything like the good little fool I've always been. Don't be like this, Mom chimed in from behind me. We were just trying to have a nice family weekend. You mean my money was trying to have a nice family weekend? I shot back. Because let's not pretend for a second this was ever about family. I'm not your son. I'm your credit card. That's not true, Dad said quickly, standing now. Isn't it? I pointed at Melissa. Tell me, when was the last time any of you invited me over just to see me, not to use me? Silence. I walked to the center of the room and dropped my bag to the floor. I checked my statements last night, I said. Do you know how much I've spent on this family in the last 2 years? No one responded. $23,411. A choked gasp from my mom. Melissa scoffed. You're exaggerating. I pulled out my phone. Vet bills. Rent payments. Uber rides. That time you needed to pay off your credit card because you accidentally bought a new iPad. Remember that? She flushed. That's not your business. It was my business, I snapped. Because I paid for it. My voice thundered through the house. Melissa's husband finally stepped in, holding his coffee like a shield. Okay, maybe this is a bit much. Let's all calm down. No, I said, stepping toward the table. I'm not calming down. Not this time. I turned to my parents. You've treated me like I don't matter for most of my life. Melissa throws tantrums, and you call her passionate. I speak up, and you call me difficult. That's not fair, Mom whispered. I laughed coldly. Really? You told me, just last year, that Melissa's job at the pet boutique was more respectable than mine, because at least she works with customers face to face. As if my tech job wasn't real enough for you. You do sit behind a screen all day, my dad muttered. I stared at him, stunned. I bought you a new laptop last Christmas, so you could video call your friends. With my screen. They said nothing. I took a deep breath. This ends today. Melissa's voice sharpened. Don't be so dramatic. If you didn't want to pay, you should have said no. You're right, I said, stepping forward. So here it is. No. No more help. No more gifts. No more dinner bills or poodle sweaters or secret Zelle transfers. I've removed every one of you from my bank apps, from my shared accounts, from my passwords. Melissa's mouth opened, but I cut her off. And I've reversed the $1,800 charge. Already flagged it as fraud. If you try anything else, I'll let the bank investigate. Let them subpoena you. Let them see what you've done. Her face drained of color. You wouldn't. Oh, I said with a smile, I already did. Mom took a step forward, her voice shaking. But what about family? I locked eyes with her. Family doesn't treat you like furniture, I said, or expect you to fund their vacations while sleeping on the floor. You chose a dog's comfort over your own son's. Let that sink in. Then I turned to my sister. As for you, you're not golden. You're just loud. That landed. Her face crumbled, and for the first time, maybe ever, Melissa had nothing to say. I grabbed my bag. My dad muttered, "Where are you going?" To someone's house where I'm actually wanted. And with that, I walked out the door. As I stepped into the morning light, my phone buzzed. A new message. It was from Aunt Sylvia, my mother's sister. A black sheep like me, always on the outside. Heard what happened. Got your back. Want dinner at mine tonight? I stared at the message. For the first time in years, I smiled without faking it. I didn't get in the car right away. Instead, I stood on the front lawn, cold air biting through my jacket, watching the house where I had just detonated 5 years of silence. But even that wasn't enough. They needed one final message. One they couldn't ignore, couldn't twist, couldn't erase. I turned back, walked to the porch, knocked once, then opened the door myself. They were all still there, still stunned. Melissa was mid-rant to Mom, something about me being ungrateful and unhinged. Her voice caught in her throat when she saw me walk in again. Oh, what now? She scoffed. You forgot your tail between your legs? No, I said. I forgot to give you a gift. I dropped my duffel bag onto the living room floor. Unzipped it slowly, the way you might open a casket. Out came a black folder, thick with printed documents. What is that? My dad asked warily. Proof, I said. But don't worry. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to show you exactly who I am. I laid out the papers on the coffee table like a war map. Bank statements, screenshots of transfers, a calendar marked with payment dates, emails of Melissa asking for money, a breakdown of every dollar sent, labeled like an invoice. And then I pulled out the last item, a flash drive. I tossed it on the table. This is for the IRS, just in case any of you think I won't follow through. My dad stood up. You're threatening us with taxes? No, I said calmly. I'm protecting myself. Because from this day forward, I'm never paying for a single thing with this family's name on it again. Then, for the final blow, I reached into the bag and pulled out a frame. Inside, a photo of me at last year's family reunion, standing behind everyone, cut off at the edge, holding a tray of drinks. I flipped the frame. Taped to the back was a printed $1 check made out to Melissa Carter. In the memo line, for all the thanks I ever got. I tossed it on the floor. You wanted something? Take it. She was frozen, face white, jaw clenched. She didn't speak. None of them did. I spent years being the silent one, I said. But the truth? I was never silent. You just never listened. I turned to the door. Now you don't get to hear me at all. And then I walked out for the last time. As I got in my car, my phone buzzed. New message from Melissa. You're dead to us. I smiled, deleted the thread, and drove straight to Aunt Sylvia's house. She met me at the door with a grin, a plate of food, and not a single question. Just 5 words that made everything worth it. You're not crazy. They are. People talk about freedom like it's a metaphor, like it's a vibe, an abstract state of peace and detachment. No. Real freedom is the moment you delete your family group chat and don't feel a single ounce of guilt. That night at Aunt Sylvia's was the first real family dinner I'd had in years. No tension, no fake smiles, no one side-eyeing my plate or joking about how I'm still single. Just a warm casserole, a trashy Netflix show in the background, and her cat, Marvin, who liked me better than Gigi ever did. I crashed on her couch without shame. The blanket was itchy. The pillow was flat. But it was heaven, because no one in that house wanted anything from me. And the next morning, I woke up different. Like something had snapped back into place inside me. Something that had been bent and twisted so many times, I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. I got coffee, opened my laptop, and started unsubscribing from everything. The auto-pay for my parents' phone plan. The cloud subscription Melissa used for Gigi's pet cam. The shared Amazon Prime I had been funding for 5 people who thought I was a joke. One click at a time, I cut the cords. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was clean. And then came the calls. The first one was my mom. Ignored. Then Dad. Blocked. Melissa tried to FaceTime me. I laughed out loud. She left a voicemail, long, tearful, absurd. You've broken this family. I hope you're proud. Do you know what you've done to Mom? Yeah, I do. I've made her responsible for her own mess. For once. Then came the text from my cousin Daniel, the one who laughed at me over wine and Gigi's sweater. Yo, that was savage. They're all spiraling. Dad says you went nuclear. I replied with one word. Good. That afternoon, I got a message from my bank. The fraud case was officially resolved. Money refunded. Melissa's access cut. Her account flagged. Then a second message. Legal documentation available for your records. Translation. If she tried this again, she'd be facing real charges. I sent a copy of the documents to my own email. Backed it up to 3 drives. Then labeled the folder. Never again. A week passed. Then 2. Then 3. Silence. Not even a passive-aggressive birthday text. It was as if I'd been erased. And weirdly, that was the greatest gift I ever got. I started cooking for myself. Actually tasting food instead of rushing through takeout between calls from my mom. I reconnected with old friends. Said yes to drinks. Said no to guilt. Started sleeping 8 hours a night for the first time in a decade. Even started dating again. Because, surprise, surprise, turns out I'm not the socially inept troll my sister always said I was. Turns out, women actually like men with boundaries. Who knew? Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. A name I hadn't seen in a while. Kelly, my brother-in-law's wife. The quiet one. Hey, just wanted you to know, I left Jacob. You were right. He's a lot. And I'm done cleaning up his messes too. I stared at the screen, stunned. Also, thank you. For everything you ever did for the kids. They'll never know, but I will. That was it. 2 short messages. And they meant more than any forced family Christmas ever had. Last week, I got invited to a friend's friend giving. Nothing fancy. Just mismatched chairs and too much wine, and people who didn't care how many promotions I'd gotten or whether I remembered to bring a pie. And for the first time, I told the story. The whole thing. The dog bed. The stolen money. The receipt folder. The $1 check. Everyone was silent. Then someone said, "Dude, you're the main character." And I laughed so hard, I cried. Because yeah, I finally am. Not the sidekick. Not the doormat. Not the guy in the background holding the drinks while his sister's dog eats steak off a porcelain plate. I'm the guy who walked out and never looked back. Moral? If you're reading this and wondering if it's too late to say no to people who only love you when you're useful, let me be clear. It's not. It's never too late. Just make sure that when you walk away, you slam the door hard enough for them to feel it for years.